Now at 11 o'clock, a stark warning to seafood lovers amid a growing toxic algae problem. There is now a quarantine for some types of shellfish. We're live.
Questions surrounding LAPD's response to 2 murders in the San Fernando Valley. Details on the troubling similarities.
And it is opening day at the LA County Fair. We're live with the fun, the food, and also the games that you can expect this year. Plus, Kai Goldberg is here with our forecast. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I certainly am. We've got another cloudy start to your day. Friday here in Southern California. We'll see the sunshine a little bit later, but remember yesterday, some thunderstorms in the mountains and deserts. Could see that again this afternoon. We'll talk about that next.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KTLA5 Morning News at 11 a.m. I'm Lou Parker.
And I'm Samantha Cortese, in today for Glenn Walker. A warning from public health officials to avoid eating shellfish caught off the Southern California coast.
They say the toxic algae bloom that is poisoning sea life is also becoming a health concern for humans. Kimberly Chang is live in Redondo Beach with those details. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, we know sometimes people like to go out and they catch shellfish recreationally to use as bait sometimes, but if you do go out and catch shellfish recreationally, this is a warning that you need to know. California public health officials are urging people not to eat shellfish that's harvested recreationally from the coast, and that's due to a toxic algae bloom that can make you sick. It's already poisoned sea life. Thousands of sea lions, dolphins, whales, and birds have been sickened or killed in Southern California in recent months by a neurotoxin called domoic acid that's produced by the algae bloom. The California Department of Public Health issued a quarantine for all recreationally harvested mussels for the entire coastline, in effect now through October 31st. There's also a separate advisory for clams, scallops, and this affects Santa Barbara, LA, Orange, and San Diego counties. I want to stress this does not apply to commercially sold shellfish. Public health officials believe that is safe, so if you're going to have shellfish, make sure it's from certified sources. No human cases of domoic acid poisoning have been reported in California to date, but public health officials say consuming the recreationally harvested shellfish can potentially cause serious illness. We spoke with some people in Malibu earlier. Take a listen.
I actually rescued a loon off the beach because it was struggling, and we've seen some pelicans that have passed away on the beach, and also sea lion, and we're concerned about the algae bloom and how the wildfires might have affected the growth, and we're all concerned about the water.
I think it's something we got to pay attention to, and I work here at the Malibu farm, and they are so conscious. And I also know that they order shellfish from other parts of the world. So they're in tune with this.
Shellfish poisoning can cause symptoms such as tingling of the lips and tongues just minutes or hours after the toxic shellfish is eaten, and in severe cases can cause paralysis and even death. Reporting live here in Redondo Beach, Kimberly Chang, KTLA 5 News.
All right, Kimberly, thank you. An urgent warning from the Pasadena Public Health Department this morning. A city resident has tested positive for whooping cough after visiting the KidSpace Children's Museum. The health department is urging anyone who visited KidSpace between 1:30 and 5 p.m. last Friday to watch for symptoms of whooping cough, especially in kids. That includes difficulty breathing, a low fever, and a runny nose. Whooping cough can be deadly for babies under 1 year old and put pregnant people at severe risk as well. Cases of whooping cough have quadrupled over the past year, which state health officials blame on lower infant vaccination rates.
Developing news out of Del Rey. Police are still looking for a suspect after a barricade situation. It began overnight at around 1 a.m. after police received reports of a person breaking into a tented home that was being fumigated. This was on Short Avenue. Police believe the suspect was holed up inside the home, but when SWAT teams went in hours later, they found the place empty. LAPD deployed drones to try to locate that suspect, but so far they've not been found.
New developments this morning in the murder of a tenant at an upscale Valley Village apartment complex as the search for a suspect continues. There are now concerns about how long it took law enforcement to respond to this and another murder case in the San Fernando Valley. KTLA 5's Corrine Winter live in Valley Village with some details for us. Hi.
Hi there, Lou. You know, it's still unclear if officers would have responded in time to save that victim, Minash Hydra, when residents placed that 911 call on Wednesday, April 23rd. But the LA Times is now reporting that the LAPD is reviewing and investigating the officer response time, not just in this case, but also another murder investigation.
12629 Riverside Drive. There's two males fighting and wrestling, banging and yelling.
And that's the police dispatch audio that we obtained on Thursday when officers responded here to the Ashton Sherman Village complex. Several tenants told us this week that they heard a commotion coming from Hydra's unit on the 5th floor of the building in the early morning hours of Wednesday, April 23rd. They say when the LAPD responded, the noises had stopped inside Unit 514. And since it was quiet, residents say officers told them they'd have to leave and they didn't go inside. It wasn't until days later that officials discovered Hydra's body inside his apartment during a welfare check. We've reached out to the LAPD to get more details on why the officers didn't make more of an attempt to check on Hydra's situation, his status, if he was injured or needed help. The LA Times is also reporting the LAPD is reviewing and investigating the officer response and timeline in another case, a deadly attack inside a Woodland Hills home that same day, April 23rd. These cases are not connected, but similar in the sense that a woman inside that home called the LAPD and reported that 3 suspects broke into her home and had attacked her partner. Officers quickly arrived at the home, but reportedly left when they observed a quiet scene there. Officers later found the victim with extreme injuries. He later died, and the suspects were caught. As for the Valley Village incident, there are lots of questions that remain. That suspect has not been caught. We are hoping to hear more from the LAPD later today. But coming up in the next hour at noon, you'll hear from a former law enforcement expert, an official who spent decades with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department on these incidents, the response time, the protocol, the training that goes into this. Did officers respond appropriately when they arrived to a scene after calls of possible violence and left? So they'll break that down for us coming up in the next hour. That's the very latest here in Valley Village. Kareen Winter, KTLA5 News.
Kareen, thank you. Breaking news at this hour, a CHP pursuit ends in a crash.
Rich Prickett is overhead in Sky 5. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Samantha and Lou. Yeah, very traumatic to this pursuit. Now, there was a silver sedan that was being pursued out of Ventura County, possibly for some sort of a theft. That car was driving at a very high rate of speed on the eastbound 118 and then came and crashed into a dump truck here along the 210 freeway near the 2 interchange. So the transition road as well as the 210 eastbound is closed down right now. I have to keep a wider shot here as the driver of that vehicle that was being pursued has basically is sprawled out onto the freeway and was given CPR. Appears to be in really bad shape. We're waiting the condition of the driver, but appeared to be in pretty bad shape. Half of the car has been peeled open right after it collided with that dump truck. So the freeway here on the eastbound side of the 210 will remain closed. They could issue a SIG alert here, at least for the transition road of the 210 to the 2 freeway. So just keep in mind if you're going to make your way through